What's up, guys? It's Coach Dave here with Condemned Labz. We're at South Shore Iron. We have Karen here with us.
Hey guys, Karen here.
We're gonna go over some glute training videos. We're gonna do a little instruction on how to activate the glutes and train them effectively, so all you ladies will have fly glutes for the summertime. All right, so what we're gonna have Karen do first, this is the hip abductor machine. It's opening the thighs and squeezing the glutes. We're gonna have her scoop forward on the seat a little bit, arch forward, chest up nice and high. I'm gonna have her open up and pause. This is gonna activate the glutes. This is called hip abduction. So she's gonna squeeze and then return to the start position. Open up and pause, hold, and squeeze. Good, 3. We're gonna do 15 reps like this. 4, arch your back, chest up nice and high. If you can see here, the piriformis and the glute maximus minimus are both engaging, squeezing, and bringing the hips outwards. So after that first set to warm up the glutes, we're trying to get that mind-muscle connection going, all right? We want to get her brain connected to the glutes only, so when we start doing more compound movements, the glutes will still be the primary focus of the exercise. If the glutes are a little weak or they're a little bit unconnected to the mind, they might fall secondary and some of the larger, more predominant muscle groups will take over. So this is a good primer movement, mind-muscle connection, glute activation before we get into the meat and potatoes.
So, and this is just like a side note, and I don't know if you want to add this, but, and maybe you can tell me too, because usually I feel it more when I like squeeze in like this, engaging my core.
Right, so if you engage your core and you tuck your pelvis, it's gonna add to the hip abduction and get a little bit more tighter contraction on the glutes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, that's
So bending forward, good.
Like
That's why I like to have everyone lean in like this, good. And really feel that glute squeeze.
I feel it a lot more when I'm engaging like this.
All right, so what I like to do when I train women and I have them engage the glutes for the first time is we do a couple of straight sets to get the mind connected to the muscle. Now we're gonna ramp the weight up a little bit. We're gonna do some pause reps and some pump reps. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna open up, we're gonna pause and hold for 5 reps, and then we're gonna do 5 fast. This will get the mind connected to the muscle, engage the glutes, and then pump some blood in there to really fill them up.
So 5 pause.
Yep, and then 5 fast. So we're gonna open up and hold. Good, hold. 1. Hold. 2. 3. Hold it. 4. Just hold this one tight. 5, good, now pump them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, good.
Ooh.
How you make them burn.
That, yeah.
All right, so our final set, we're gonna bump the weight up a little bit. We're gonna go 10 straight reps, and then we're gonna do a double drop set before we move on to more compound movements. One of the most important things I wanna focus on when we do these is making sure the thighs stay pressed into the pads. People tend to push with their feet as opposed to abduct the hips to get that little bit of a cheat or that little extra push into the movement. We wanna completely eliminate that. We wanna make sure that the glutes are the primary movers and we're not doing any pushing from the knee down. That was perfect set before we jump into the heavier weight. All right, so we're gonna do a sumo dead. I'll just show you how I like to do them. Chest up high. See how I come down as vertical as possible? And then I bring my hips underneath me before I stand. Most people like to do this, which is fine, but you're not gonna activate the glutes as much as you're gonna get hamstrings and lower back. So you wanna keep your back straight, chest up, come up, bring the hips forward, and squeeze at the top.
So basically your knees are also kind of like more forward.
Yep. So you're gonna hinge your hips forward, you're gonna abduct fully, and bring your hips completely underneath you throughout the movement. So right now, Karen's gonna keep her chest up, back straight. She's gonna keep her hips underneath her, and she's gonna drive with her hips primarily forward in a hinged position. Good, 1. If you notice how the glutes contract, 2. 3.
Is that good?
Perfect, 4. Bring your hips forward, 5, good. 6. 4 more. 1. 2. 3. 4, good. Perfect. How'd that feel?
Good.
Can you feel that under activation in the glute when you bring forward? But like I said, a lot of times people want to do this.
Yeah, because that's.
As opposed to.
Yeah, I feel like I felt it more kind of like what you were saying. For sure.
It just adds that curvature to the lower part of the glute hamstring tie-in better. Anything we do like this, when we start to get into the heavier movements, again, if the glutes weren't primed and activated properly, your quads and hamstrings might tend to take over. Or if you, miss your form a little bit, let's say, and you lean as opposed to keep your back straight, again, your lower back and hamstrings might take the brunt of the movement. So you want to keep your hips underneath you and drive forward. All right, now we're getting into it a little bit more in depth. That was the basic sumo dead with a kettlebell. Now we're gonna add some intensifiers in there to really make this burn. Sorry.
I love that.
We're gonna have you, Karen, do 10 full range reps, followed by 10 partials to really burn out the glute.
Partials.
Yep, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the kettlebell. We're gonna start from here, chest up, back straight. We're gonna do 10 full range, and then I'm gonna stop you halfway up. 2, 3. You can see her glutes and hips are fully tucked underneath her, being the primary driver. Keep those hips tucked underneath. Good. Perfect. How'd that feel? Good. All right, we're gonna wrap this up and we're gonna head down to the dungeon. All right, so now that we primed the glutes, we got into a little bit of a heavier movement with the sumo deadlifts. We're gonna do heavy isolation movement with the hip thrust machine here. All right, so Karen's already strapped in. She's gonna keep her feet a little bit wider and a little bit closer underneath her. Good, right there. She's gonna drive up with her hips and unlock. Good, all the way down and drive up. Good, 1. Little pause, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that was the first set. Get her used to the movement. Again, not too crazy with the weight, just to activate the glutes. We don't want any of the quads taking over some of the pushing of the movement. But what we're gonna do now to intensify the movement is we're gonna have her do a little bit of hip abduction, the same as we did when we warmed up, to intensify the drive on the way up. So when she comes down, she's gonna bring her knees in together. When she drives up, she's gonna pop her hips and open her knees. So now we're gonna add abduction to the hip thrust. 1, good, knees in, good. 2, 3, 4. So to fully engage the glute, what people don't realize is the hip has to be abducted. So when you abduct the hip and bring it forward, that's gonna tighten the glute. And then from there, you're able to drive and squeeze. Even with a basic kickback, you wanna abduct and draw backwards. So we're applying 2 techniques to this machine here, a hip thrust and hip abduction to maximize glute intensity and focus. We're gonna do 1 more set, and now we're gonna apply a technique that we applied on the sumo deadlifts. We're gonna do 10 full range motions with a pause, and we're gonna do 10 partials. Good, so a little hold, 1. Hold, 2. That isometric contraction, 3. 4. 5. Hold it. 10. Good. Now pump partials. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Perfect. So those are 3 staples of glute training so far. Compound movements, activation of the glutes. Now we're going to take it in a little bit different direction. We're going to add some resistance with a resistance band, and we're going to get into some sidestepping. All right, so now we're gonna do a sidestep. We're gonna go right first and then back left. We're gonna keep the same form we did with the sumo deadlifts. Chest up high, back straight, hips tucked underneath us, and we're gonna slowly walk. Creating that same abduction, trying to fire the glute. Good, stay nice and low. Perfect, good, stay low.
Oh, it burns!
That's right. Good. Rest. The resistance band keeps the tension on the glute the whole time. And again, the reason we prime the glutes first is to take the focus off the quad. Once you're mentally connected to the glute, it's easier to keep the focus there when you start to draw other muscle groups into the equation. The main thing you want to do is think and focus glute, glute, glute. Because if you don't, you're going to get a lot of quad involvement, and that's not what we're looking for right here. Anytime you use any type of resistance bands, you always want to keep them above the knee unless they're very, very, very light. So you don't create any tension or pain in any of the joint. If you're pulling from the ankle down, you can actually damage the connective tissue in the knee. So you always want the resistance band above the knee if you're going to have high resistance. You'll see some people use very, very low resistance and keep it below the knee, somewhere around the ankle. It's not terrible, but if you really want to move weight and activate the muscle, above the knee, high resistance, and train hard and heavy.
How do you feel about that?
Above the knee. No, I felt it all. In the glutes.
So right now, Karen's gonna keep her hips in. She's gonna turn her foot slightly out. Good, and she's gonna do a short range of motion. Turn out a little bit more. Good.
Oh yeah, I can feel that.
Keep your hips in, pull them in. Good. Now this is gonna target that glute hamstring tie-in right there. Square up and down. Good. Turn the foot out. Perfect. Squeeze. So again, the most important thing, we're combining two types of movements here. We're not only kicking back, but we're abducting, turning the foot out, and making sure we get the most squeeze on the glute.
Yeah, I feel it right here.
Yeah.
You normally do kickbacks at all, or?
I do, but like on the
That's definitely more of a compound movement. Machine glute kickback, where you're actually bending the knee and driving back. You can move
it on
what? The Smith? Cable?
Yeah.
That's even better sometimes because it's more of a free range of motion instead of locking into a machine. So you can kind of find your sweet spot where you activate the glute the most. You can handle more weight because it's more of a compound movement. This is a little bit more of an isolation. It's a single joint. You're just moving from the hip only and not the knee. So you can't handle as much weight, but you'll isolate the glute a little better.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt it more. Just because with the cable, I'm like,
right. It's basically the equivalent of a squat versus a leg extension. In a squat, you're going to encompass a little bit more muscle groups, so you can move a little bit more weight. In a leg extension, it's going to be a single joint movement, and you're just going to isolate the quad. So a cable kickback with a machine or a cable is going to isolate, going to be more of a compound movement, multi-joint, get a little bit more quad, glute, a little hamstring involved, where a single joint movement like an iso kickback like that is going to be primarily glute focus. All right, so everything starts off, of course, with the hips squared up. Then we're going to abduct, turn out the foot. Good. Keeping the hips square and kick it back. Perfect. All right, guys, so I took you through some of the staples of my glute training, the exercises I feel are really important and how to execute them properly. And now Karen obviously knows what she's doing, so she's going to show you what her staples are, some of her favorite exercises, and walk you through how she does them.
Sure. Hey guys, me again. All right, guys, so I'm going to walk you through one of my favorites, which is cable pull-throughs, also for the glutes. The way that I start is just make sure put a weight that works best for you, where it's enough resistant, but not too heavy that it just like pulls you back. You pull through with it, keep your feet grounded. You're gonna hinge your hips back, keeping the hammies engaged, the core, pull through, and squeeze your glutes. Don't thrust too much, kind of just wanna squeeze the glutes. Engage those glutes, engage those hammies, keep that core tight, and just pull. If you see from the back, you can see my glutes are kind of pushing downward. I'm gonna show you guys another one of my favorite glute exercises. This is a glute hyperextension. I use it also to kind of just engage those glutes. So I get on it. I kind of put it low enough to where it's enough for me to get a full deep range of motion. So I slightly bend my knees. I keep them out because I kind of want to target this part, the knee. So I'm gonna go down, extend those hammies, those glutes. Come up and keep your back kind of like rounded motion where you're squeezing your glutes inwards. And just do a couple of those. I like to do about 20. You don't want to extend your back too much, so you can hurt your back. Another one of my favorite movements are cable kickbacks with the cable machine. You want to make sure that you have some ankle straps to connect to your ankles. Part of this movement again is to engage your glutes. You want to squeeze up every time you pull back. So basically you start off by attaching the cable to the ankle straps. You put a weight that you're comfortable with where it's not too heavy, but you still feel some type of resistance when pushing. You want to make sure it's not too heavy because you don't want to make sure that you're using your back. A lot of the times this movement kind of is really easy for you to either put your back in or extend it too much. So you want to make sure that it's not as heavy for that. You kind of just start off by placing your foot, one foot forward, one foot a little back, and you're literally just gonna push back like if you're kicking somebody from the back. Alrighty, so let me show you guys. And you want to make sure also your back is aligned and straight like a table. So another thing that you kind of want to just keep in mind, you can kind of add it just to any workout that you actually do depending on what it is that you're targeting. In this case it is glutes. So what I do to kind of get that muscle to mind connection, I literally touch with my hands exactly what muscle it is that I'm trying to target. In this case it's the glutes. So I touch it so I can make sure that I'm having that mind to muscle connection.
What's up, guys? We just wrapped up a glute training workout. Karen killed it.
Killer.
Trying to show you guys how to build those fire glutes for the summer of 2021. That entire posterior chain. I'm Coach Dave. We're at South Shore Iron.
This is Karen.
We're with Condemned Labz. We want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Make sure to train those glutes, ladies, gentlemen, everybody.
Glutes, glutes,
don't
glutes.
neglect them. Thank you.